Teachers of Reddit, what is the smartest / most creative way of cheating that you've seen? In a lot of my college courses, I wasn't allowed to use anything higher than a T84. So I took the guts of my T89 and swapped it into my T84. Never got caught. Oh shit, that's the way to do it. We were supposed to have T83 plus for our exams, but the exam supervisors didn't know or care, and I used my T89 all the time. You could upload whole texts into the T89 with your PC. Not sure if this would work anymore, but if I had a paper to write on a book I didn't read, I would find a well-written paper online, then translate the entire thing from English to German, German to French, French to Spanish, then Spanish back to English, pull the original paper and the new one up side by side, and clean up the grammar on the new paper, and you've got the same concept, but written just different enough to not be plagiarism. Worked like a charm. We had one teacher, probably 2005-ish, who barely spoke English. A couple of the guys would just take an article, swap the first and last halves of each sentence and hand it in. Because he spoke the most broken English, he was Chinese, he wasn't able to distinguish it from proper English. This is before the anti-plagiarism tools we have today. I remember a story from my biochemical professor. This student all semester who wasn't showing up to class, kept getting his score improved significantly after regrades. They got their tests back, had a day to review them, and were allowed to resubmit for a regrade. They knew he was cheating because of the unlikelihood of the grading mistakes on multiple exams, but the TAs who graded it couldn't confidently say it wasn't their handwriting. Ultimately it was an office worker for the department who figured it out near the end of the semester. His staples were angled different than the exams handed out that were mass stapled. He was recreating the test, printing it, re-answering it, and then grading it in the same pen as the TAs, and had done a good job copying the writing style. My teacher shared with us a story about how, since she allowed eating during her tests, one person pulled out a giant bag of M&Ms and ate a specific color corresponding to a /B/C/D. It was a 2-student duo and they only got caught when another student ratted them out. What a snitch. Not the student, but the teacher. So, the teacher, let's call him Mr. A, had a reputation for being a phenomenal teacher who had every student engaged / invested in his class, no matter how mundane the subject. Anytime he asked a question, every student's hand would shoot in the air with them shouting things like "call on me" or "I know the answer." Simply, Mr. A developed a reputation in the district as one of its best teachers. Fast forward a couple years, and I'm grabbing coffee with Mr. A, and I ask him, "What's your trick? How did you get every student bought in?" His response, "Well, I told the kids every time we had a visitor in class, I need you all to raise your hand, like I was giving away free candy. But if you don't know the answer, raise your left hand. If you do know it, raise your right hand, so I know who to call on, and we all look good." Worked like a charm. I was supervising a final chemistry exam along with another coworker. Not 15 minutes in, a hand slams down on a desk, and I turn around expecting the worst, only to see my coworker angrily shouting at a pair of really frightened 10th graders whose desk he smashed. Amidst the shouting I caught the words, "Morse code." The guy proceeded to take them to the office. I called a hallway supervisor to take over, and ran after the group. Apparently, the kids were silently tapping the answers amongst themselves in Morse code, not even with their fingernails, just their fingertips. I never heard a thing. My coworker happened to catch B in Morse code or something. I honestly thought he finally went crazy solely because of his appearance. Picture Robin Williams in Jumanji going, "What year is it?" I'm 100% sure that if this coworker weren't in the room, they'd have gotten away with it for sure. So they learned Morse code, but couldn't study for a test. Amazing. Learning A, B, C, and D in Morse code is definitely easier. One of my old teachers told us a story about a student who had rigged up a tiny scroll of paper in a wristwatch with notes written on it. He turned the scroll by winding the watch. He ended up getting caught because he was winding his watch so damn much during the exam, but the teacher loved the creativity. In elementary/middle school we had to write a paragraph each week featuring all the vocabulary words included in that unit. One clever kid wrote something along these lines. One day kid's name had to write a paragraph for English class. He sat down, picked up a pen, and used these words in it, proceeds to list out all the words. The teacher only let it go once, because she never saw that happen until then. That reminds me of a time in my high school Spanish class, where we had to make a skit including a list of vocab words, and it had to be 4 minutes long. So the skit went, in Spanish, "Hey, amigo, we have to write a skit containing," lists out words. Oh, okay. What time is it? It is 1:30. But I put my watch on my table. We can tell the time. Okay. What is Jose's phone number? It is numbers. What is Mariah's phone number? They continue wasting time by asking random phone numbers while staring intently at the watch. After 4 total minutes have passed. Ah, the bell. It is time to go to class. Bye bye. I think they got a B. If original poster is a student, crowdsourcing cheating strategies, then this is one of the most creative ways of cheating that I've seen. Either that or he's a teacher. Sourcing ways to prevent his students cheating. My exams that used a graphic calculator, T84, required us to show the examiners a proof of reset screen before the papers started, so instead of actually studying for my papers, I painstakingly redrew the proof of reset screen pixel by pixel in the T84's pixel art program, and stored all my notes in it. Our calculator had a storage feature too. Once you open the battery cover it turns off, and on next start it shows the reset screen. We had to open the cover and let the teacher press OK to reset. No way of cheating here. If it's a T-calculator, set a really simple program to launch on startup with a fake reset screen and OK box. You all are such sophisticated cheaters. I just stuck a cheat sheet in the T cover and peeked at it when the teacher wasn't looking. Thanks oblivious high school statistics teacher. Old school. Not a teacher, but I used to use one of those rectangular erasers because the pencils the teacher gave us were cheap and the erasers only smudged the marks. The eraser came in a cardboard sleeve and I ripped it open and would write test answers on it, then erase it after exams for reuse. College physics, girl with a really intricate tattoo on her leg, wrote formulas in between the tattoo lines. Even looking closely, you couldn't tell unless you knew what you were looking for. You could tell it was test day because she wore shorts. In school I found a pen that you could store a piece of paper inside. Wrote all the formulas for a test on it in minuscule handwriting. The process of doing that made me remember them all, so I never actually looked at the pen in the test. Luckily at university we got given a huge folder with pretty much every formula needed written inside it for exams. Knowing what formulas exist and how/when to use them is much more important than endless memorization. That's what always bothered me about not being allowed formula sheets in tests. The formulas are sometimes a little difficult to memorize, but knowing when and where to apply them is infinitely more useful and is the real purpose. You're gonna Google them after you're done school anyway lol, but the knowledge of use and problem solving is invaluable. High school kids recreated a Snapple label where the nutrition panel on the back had all the answers, formulas, etc. Only got caught because I'd never seen the flavor before and wanted to see how much sugar was in it. I can imagine how worried they were when you inspected the bottle like, oh, how much sugar is in TH, you're all failing. I can name the worst, and I've definitely shared it before, but it wasn't my student, it was a friend's. She downloaded a worksheet for the kids to do while she was in a meeting of some sort. Kids found the worksheet's answer sheet online and proceeded to copy the answers. Last answer said student responses will vary. And that's what one kid wrote as his answer. Other times you'll see one kid misspells something or gets an answer wrong, and everyone who copied from him has the same error. This happened to our entire group of chemical students last year. Everyone in the classes were cheating on the homework because the answers were always online. In the second semester, someone made the mistake of writing answers may vary, and the teacher finally realized we were all cheating. This happened in my networking class. Most of the class that felt the need to cheat were smart enough to always get 1 or 2 wrong and to slowly bring their average up over the course of multiple assignments. Then one of the dumbasses who barely passed most assignments and never put in any effort found out about it, and the teacher caught on after he turned in perfect assignments 15 minutes before the rest of the class 3 times in a row.